What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog, back with another Liliana deck for Liliana Week. In this one, we're revisiting the Abzan Mutate Reanimate deck that I did last season, where I think Liliana fits in really nicely with the kind of the discard theme. It's not too much has changed, although for the record, every time there's a new set releases, I delete all my decks and then I rebuild anything from scratch. So this is still pretty similar to what I did last time, but there's some different, couple different cards going on, but it is very similar overall, including with the sideboard. Obviously, we have Liliana here, our 4 mana, 4 loyalty Planeswalker. +1, each player discards a card. If your opponent can't, they lose 3 life. -3 to -X for a creature, or equal to the number of cards in your graveyard. Since we're going to be doing some self-mill, that's going to get pretty powerful. And of course, the -7, which getting creatures from any graveyard back from battlefield with haste is fantastic. So we can we have plenty of options on our side. We can reanimate, or hopefully some spicy stuff from our opponent that we've killed, or force them to discard. And yeah, we should be having some fun times with that. As it is, we're still pretty creature focused, so I think just 2 copies feels pretty reasonable. So let's just start at the top here and just kind of go over what we're doing here. So Mire Triton and Glowspore Shaman are going to kind of get the self-mill going on. Mire Triton, of course, mills 2 cards, also gains its 2 life, and it has Death Touch, so just a nice versatile card. The Glowspore Shaman here is a 3/1, so a little bit better statted, so if your opponent stumbles with a slow start, you can start pushing through for some early damage. And of course, neither one of these creatures are human, so we can mutate onto them with several of the mutate options that we have. We do mill 3 cards, and the thing I love about the Glowspore Shaman that I think is pretty underrated is we get to put a land back from our graveyard back on top of our library. So especially with like a 3-color deck, being able to get that fixing, that 3rd and 4th land, you know, if you keep a 2-land hand and you got the Glowspore Shaman in it that you can cast on turn 2, most likely you're going to be able to fix that by casting the Glowspore Shaman and getting a land into your hand. And you've already got spells because you only had 2 lands, of course. So now you'll get that 3rd land, and you can kind of keep going from there. So love the Glowspore Shaman it brings to the table. And a couple copies here of Essence Symbiote. This is my preferred 2/2 actually. Of course, we're not in blue to even run the Polywog, but I think the Essence Symbiote with the +1 counter is making your creatures big and gaining you life. Works really well, and definitely like that option here. But just 2 copies though. I think Mire Triton and Glowspore are just a little more important and don't need to overdo on the 2 drops. 3 mana here, we got a couple Murderous Riders and 4 Mythos of Nethroi as our versatile removal. Of course, Murderous Rider come down as a creature with lifelink that we can mutate on top of, and being able to hit creatures or planeswalkers is nice removal, instant speed. And the thing I love about Mythos of Nethroi, instant speed, being able to destroy any non-land permanent on our opponent's side is fantastic. We also got the Necropanther here as one of our first mutate cards, 3/3 for 3, so it's okay. You can mutate it for 4. And it's a nice thing is the flexibility here with the mutate, being able to do white or black, so depending on what your mana situation looks like. You can mutate this pretty easily, and then when you drop it down, you get a creature with mana cost 3 or less back from your graveyard onto the battlefield. So you know you played your Triton or your Shaman turn 2, and you know you block with something to kill and trade with something in combat. We can just play a Necropanther down a little bit later on, and then get that creature back on the battlefield, continue filling up your graveyard, and get that extra graveyard value. And of course, tons of synergy here with Liliana, as we kind of went over a little bit already. What's up, Rankle here? I don't think I had that in the last one, but I really like what it does here. It's a 3/3 for 4 flying haste, so it allows us to be a little bit aggressive in certain situations. And all 3 of these modes are pretty relevant for what we're trying to do here. Each player discards a card, each player loses a life, draws a card, each player sacrifices a creature. So if we're on the aggro mode, or if our opponent already has a ton of cards in hand, or we don't too worried about what they might draw into, we can just go for the card draw and ping their life total. And discard a card, you know, even if we have to discard something, we don't necessarily mind having stuff in our graveyard. The same thing about sacrificing the creature as well. It is legendary, and we don't want to have room for other things as well, so I think 1 is perfectly fine. We also have some additional mutations here in Gemrazer, Migratory Greathorn, and Boneyard Lurker. So Gemrazer has Reach and Trample, of course. Mutates for just 3 mana, which is fantastic. It is double green, which is a little bit tricky sometimes in our 3-color mana base, but we are pretty, I think we're doing pretty good thanks to the Triomes and things like that. But yeah, when it comes in, when we mutate it, I should say, not a battlefield, to mutate trigger, we destroy an artifact or enchantment, of course, which goes nicely with our Mythos of Nethroi, so we have lots of versatile removal here. The Migratory Greathorn also is a 3 mana mutate, just a 3/4 body, which is still decent, and we get the 2-drop basic land card, which is pretty nice to get our fixing and ramp a little bit. And the Boneyard Lurker lets us get a any permanent back from our graveyard to our hand. So we can get a Planeswalker, a land if for some reason that's what we're looking for. Most likely probably it's going to be a creature or a Planeswalker. We also do have an enchantment here that might want to come back with this. So the nice thing with this, it's a 4-mana 4/4, but the Mutate is also 4 as well. So it's pretty reasonable there. And a Vraska Golgari Queen. Just love this card, just fantastic. Always happy to play this in Golgari colors, so 2 copies here. Again, all the modes here are relevant for what we're trying to do. +2 to sack something, gain life, draw a card. You know, once we get to like 6 mana, we don't need more than that, so if we do kind of flood out, we can sack lands, of course. If we just have a 2-powered creature that's not really doing too much on the board, we can sack that just to try to find one of our bigger payoffs or some reanimation spell or something like that. And, you know, the -3 to destroy a non-land permanent on our opponent's side. Mana 3 or less. Which goes nicely with Elspeth Conquers Death here, with exiling a permanent on our opponent's side with mana cost 3 or greater. So this kind of picks up where Vraska leaves off. There's an overlap with the 3, so it's nice having that flexibility. And then the second saga, of course, can kind of throw off your opponent's math with any non-creature spells, so not just removal, but Planeswalkers, maybe their own Elspeth Conquers Death, things like that, means all of a sudden they can't cast it. And of course, the third saga is we get a creature or a Planeswalker back from the graveyard to the battlefield. You know, we're doing all the self-mill. There might be a key creature we want to get back, or a Planeswalker, and having that flexibility to get one of those back. And even if our opponent isn't running a ton of removal for some reason, you know, we're filling up our own graveyard, so we're getting value off this pretty much no matter what. And Nethroi here, just a really fantastic card. 5 mana, 5/5, Death Touch and Lifelink, which is pretty sweet. The Mutate is a little bit steep at 7 mana here, but you know, it's not, for what it does, it's pretty reasonable. You know, getting any number of creature cards from with power, total power 10 or less from our graveyard back onto the battlefield. That's pretty amazing. We'll have to have 2, 3, 4 powered creatures. We can get easily get, you know, 2, 3 creatures back with this, and just kind of keep it going. And obviously you can just play this down as a 5/5 and mutate something on top of it, and so that's perfectly reasonable way to get some value off of it as well. All right, that's the main deck. Let's go to the mana base real quick because it is pretty key here. So we got 1 plains, 1 Castle Locthwain, 3 swamp, 2 forests. So we're mostly black, and then also quite a bit of green, and white is mostly just kind of a splash color. We don't mind Elspeth Conquers Death with the double white because it's not until turn 5, so we're fine with you know, things like that, because by turn 5 we should have 2 white sources, but we just want to make sure we have the green and the black in the early turns, and we have lots of double black spells, especially in the early going with Murderous Rider and things like that, where we want to make sure we have enough black mana. So that's why we're doing the mana base this way. We have 4 Godless Shrine, 4 Overgrown Tomb, 4 Temple Garden, running 4 Triomes this time, and 2 Fabled Passage, but you can also do the 3 and 3 if you don't have all the Triomes or whatever. But I haven't been trying all 4, and it's been working out fine for me, so I think I'm just going to stick with that. But yeah, it's definitely a case made for 3 Triomes, just trying to minimize your tap lands, and then the Fabled Passage for the fixing. Certainly, that's what I did last time, I believe. Sideboard here, it's a bit of a toolbox strategy. Since there's not really too many changes we want to make with the main deck, it feels pretty solid for what it is, but obviously you have to make certain concessions depending on the matchup. So one's kind of a toolbox strategy, so you can just kind of shave off 1 here, 1 there, and things like that. So 3 Agonizing Remorse when we need some hand hate. A couple Scavenging Oozes for if our opponent is trying to do something with their graveyard. A Spyglass here to deal with Planeswalkers or anything with activated abilities you want to shut down. A couple Banishing Lights when we need some exile removal. Necropanther is in here as kind of a 1-of Silver Bullet to if there's one particular card that we just really do not want to see. Obviously like Uros or Ugin. Ugin 8, of course, things like that. Those cards we just do not want to see. We can tutor up anything like that. Maybe we want to get some removal out of our opponent's hand if they're running like an Extinction event. We don't really like our stuff getting exiled. So this is just here as a 1-of for those key situations. A couple Ritual of Sits. We don't mind our stuff dying, but you know, there's also kind of go wide strategies with kind of cheaper creatures. And we definitely want to have ways of dealing with that. We have lots of good targeting removal. We have the Death Touch creature as well. So I think Ritual of Sit is the right answer, so we don't have to worry too much about our own creatures dying. We can just reanimate them later on. Even with things like Sorin, which is good in kind of a grindier matchups. We have the life gain, so if our opponent is kind of has a nice mix of removal and creatures, we can kind of grind them out with the life gain and getting our creatures back. Or also, you know, just against control decks, being able to ping our opponent's planeswalkers, and also having the option to get our creatures back as well is pretty nice. And then Cavalier of Night can come against the aggro matchups with a 4/5 life leaking body is pretty great, and being able to kill a creature on the opponent's side. We don't care about sacrificing creatures because we're trying to reanimate anyway. And then if their opponent does have removal, or if we have to trade something in combat and we lose it, then we can just get a creature back anyway. Mana cost 3 or less. So a lot of things to love about Cavalier of Night here. One of Vivien here when we need more. Again, when the matchup is kind of going to run a little bit longer. Vivien is kind of a nice creature factor here, being a +1 to make 2/3 beast tokens. And of course we can mutate on top of those, which is really a very important reason to run something like a Vivien in here if our opponent is running lots of removal. So we can keep pumping out creatures, and being able to make beasts that we can mutate on top of I think is pretty important. And then a silver bullet copy here of a Thought Distortion for those control card draw heavy matchups. We can does cost 6 mana to cast it, but you're probably going to get there in those matchups with 6 lands. I think we're running 25 lands in the main deck, so definitely pretty reasonable to expect to be able to cast this. It can be countered, so even if they're trying to hold up counter magic, you don't really care. Then you get a look at their hand and exile all non-land, non-creature cards from their hand and their graveyard. So that's pretty sweet. So we can get all their counter spells, any planeswalkers, whatever they're holding up, removal spells, sweepers, just get them all out of their hand. Anything they might potentially get back, from like a Tamiyo, well, we just get that out of their graveyard as well. So just one silver bullet copy. There's not a ton of matchups where it's really critical, but if you do get this in the right matchup and you do get it off, it's going to be pretty fantastic. All right, that's the deck. We'll jump into some matches, see how we do. All right, up against a tricolor. So that's appropriate since we're in 3 colors. All right, and see, this is why I love having Glowspore Shaman, just fantastic in our opening hand. We have the Triton to go first, just to guarantee we mill a land that we can get back with the Shaman. And kind of buy us time to even see if we want to. Might just draw into some more lands. Obviously we're missing white, which we can crack with the Fabled Passage. Otherwise, we'll just go Tomb into Forest, and depending on what our opponent does, we'll kind of figure out if we want to start with the Triton or the Shaman. And we got the Lurker, and then we can just follow it up with, once we've emptied our hand, we can just follow up with Liliana maybe. Castle Locthwain. Okay, pretty solid draw. Although if we're up against red, maybe not so great, but we'll see. We'll see what our opponent's up to. So life gain could be pretty nice. Arachnos. Fire Urchin, that's cool. Alright, so whatever we play here probably dies. We have 4 lands, and with everything we have in hand, I don't think we're too worried about that. So this gets a power boost with a cast a spell. So they both have 1 toughness, so they're pretty easy shock targets. So if they want to shoot it down, that's fine. But if they don't have the removal, then we can easily just block it. And we'll take some trample damage potentially, but that's fine. We could always have the 3 power that can offset the 3 toughness to kill it, but most likely they have a removal spell of some kind. Otherwise, I don't know why you'd be running something like Fire Urchin that gets basically a prowess boost. And we got the life gain here from the Mire Triton, and if they do kill it, and fill up our graveyard, then we're fine with that because we got the Liliana in hand. Okay, another Fire Urchin. So it looks like they're trying to go off next turn. Down to 3 cards in hand, though. So let's start with the Shaman. See, we got the Castle Locthwain. We pretty much have all the lands we need, and we've whiffed on lands here. That's interesting. So maybe we just crack the Fabled Passage. So yeah, no reason to attack here. We're not really the aggressive deck in most matchups, and certainly not against what our opponent is showing here. If we leave ourselves open, then these are just going to crash through for potentially a ton of damage. Certainly happy with trading here. I don't mind killing one of these things at all. We do get some trample damage, but that's fine. They would creature off the board, just take 2. Or 3 actually, because we the trample. Yep. So 2 from this one, and then the 1 trampled through. We'll go ahead and grab a plane since we haven't seen any white sources yet. And of course we found a white source. Don't need to shock that in. So probably just go for the Lurker. Next turn, we have 5 mana open, so we can't play both, so we have to kind of pick and choose what we want to do. Our graveyard is nice and full, so we could just, if they're still sitting here with just a Fire Urchin, I think I'm fine with that. Or a Vraska is pretty sweet. I like the card draw that she provides. But it's probably better off just running out here as a removal spell. And if they want to send some direct damage or removal spell at her, then that's fine. Let's just get that off the board. Play the tap land, and next turn we can play both. And depending on what we draw into, of course. But yeah, with just a land, I'm definitely fine with just running out Castle Locthwain into Triton into Liliana. And with this many lands, certainly we're set up nicely with our Vraska to potentially draw some cards if they don't kill it. But they also have a 4/4 they have to deal with. And if they don't deal with that, and if they kill our Vraska, we can always mutate on top of this and get our Vraska back. We'd have Elspeth Conquers Death. We also have this Nethroi we probably want to get back with the Boneyard Lurker mutation. I also have one more in the deck. Our opponent here has 3 lands looking at our Vraska, so I'm guessing they have some kind of debating whether to use removal on our Vraska or not. They're passing turn. Okay. Guess they decide not to. So we got a tap land. I think I'm fine with just attacking here, seeing what they do. And gotta love the synergy between Vraska and Liliana, because you can plus Liliana first, and then you can plus Vraska for the card draw afterwards. Alright, so we'll gain some life, fill up our yards some more, then drop this Liliana, and plus, I think we're okay with discarding the land. We got card draw potentially with Vraska. And if we find any mutation off the top with this Boneyard Lurker, then we can do some pretty sweet things with that as well. And yeah, we really don't need more than 6 lands, so perfectly fine with just dropping Liliana, plussing, getting some removal or something out of their hand, whatever they're holding up. And keeping her loyalty nice and high, so we could potentially just even get to the -7 and get these Nethroids back that way. But with our opponent's life total dwindling now, might not be too relevant. Although the 3 life from Liliana doesn't seem like it's going to be too much of an impact. Do we want to draw here? And both Nethroids in the yard, so not mutating that anytime soon. Everything else is basically 5. I mean, could sack a swamp or a forest. Okay, disfigure on the Triton, in case we were thinking about doing that. Let's sack a forest, that's fine. Necropanther, okay, so we can mutate next turn unless they have some hard removal for our Boneyard Lurker. Goblin Gathering, okay. That works. So let's mutate. We'll take the 4/4. Alright, mana cost 3 or less from our graveyard to the battlefield. Glowspore is interesting. We're at 20 life, so don't worry about that. Probably just Necropanther for future value. And permanent Elspeth Conquers doesn't do much, so we'll just grab the Nethroi. And we can discard the Mire Triton, that's fine. I don't think we want to sack anything here. We'll decline. Attack 4. We got a 3/3 back to protect our planeswalkers. And if we draw a land, we can just mutate the Nethroi. Otherwise, we just hardcast it for 5, and that's perfectly fine in this situation as well. So either way, we're pretty well set up. Take a pretty massive series of removal spells from our opponent. And if they're running stuff like Disfigure, Gravewaker, then I'm guessing they don't have that. Yeah, let's mutate. Oh wait, are we off 1? We are off 1 mana. That's right, 7 mana. Let's attack. Forgot that was so steep. I was thinking 6 for some reason. Yes, it is 7 mana for white or green, and then black. Alright, so let's play you down as a 5/5. Let's plus. You lose your last card. It's a Shivan Dragon. That's pretty sweet. We'll plus and Ditch a swamp. Let's draw here. Another land. Okay. And our opponent is dead. So yeah, just kill him with combat and move on to game 2. Okay, looks like maybe Rakdos kind of a starter list with the Shivan Dragons and Goblin Gatherings. Didn't really see much burn there, did we? No, we just saw some removal spells, the Urchins, and some big plays here with the Shivan Dragon. A little bit of go wide with their tokens. So maybe we want Ritual of Soot. Elspeth Conquers Death is nice against their bigger threats. I had Gravewakers, so it's definitely a case to bring in the Oozes. Let's do that. Oops. There we go. The removal is pretty spotty with disfigures and things like that, so I'm not too worried about that. And we have the Mythos and the Murderous Rider to hit their bigger creatures as well. So maybe Elspeth Conquers Death. Maybe we trim that off for a Cavalier, just for some life gain in case that's relevant, especially on the draw here. In which case, might want to consider Sorin. Or even Vivian, and take out the other Elspeth. Such a good card, but it does miss like a fair amount of what they were trying to do. So let's just bring in Vivian and just try to go a little bit more wide ourselves. Now we're in enchantments, and the reach doesn't really do much against their flyers. So maybe we'll shave off that for a Sorin and just try it like that. I don't think the Banishing Lights are too relevant as far as exile removal. I think just the speed removal should be fine with what they're trying to do. Wow, no lands. That's quite the hand. It's a little bit better. We'll have to drop off Vivian. Just too far away. Fabled Passage for a green source. And Glowspore Shaman hopefully finds us some more lands. Probably save the Ooze for after they've killed these two, so that we can get some additional value off of it. Especially another reason why we need more green mana, because it is a green to activate. Alright, opponent 2 lands and no plays yet. It's like they're in full control mode, so they have some kind of instant speed interaction, I'm sure. So yeah, we need a forest. Into swamp. Okay, there's a land. Yeah, I still think we go for the Glowspore Shaman. Maybe dig for another green source with this. To potentially use for the Ooze, I should say. Next turn, probably just Triton and Godless Shrine. And then we have the Mythos of Nethroi to answer any immediate threats. Right, so we hit here. Yep, there's a Disfigure, which we figured. And we're going to let this resolve. There we go. A Triome. Or this Fabled Passage, which we already cracked. I mean, it kind of thins the deck, so there's a case for that. But I think we just go for a Triome since we're just going to run the Triton out next turn. So we have a Triton into Triome, and then turn 4. Yeah, we got Ooze and then Swamp, so we still have a second green source to potentially activate. Although nothing in our opponent's graveyard, we could get something out of ours. Otherwise, we just hold up Mythos and then play the Godless Shrine tapped. Alright, so our opponent undoubtedly has removal, but you can't kill it on the stack. You have to let it resolve, opponent. There you go. You have to let it hit the battlefield, then you can kill it. Shock. Okay. So disfigures and shocks. You got it. Alright. Try land. Say go. Alright, so we have options next turn. Do Ooze or Mythos. So the way it's going, they're probably just going to kill the Ooze, but we'll see what they do. I mean, if it's a shock or a disfigure, then we certainly have a... Okay, certainly have answers for that. So we'll play this, and we still have mana open to activate in response to a shock or disfigure. Obviously, dies to Agonizing Siphon, which is 3 damage. Okay, they just go for a Spell Gorger. Do we want to exile from our own graveyard? We have, what, we have 3 creatures. I guess I'm fine with exiling one of them. So it has to be a creature to get the counter and a life. So let's exile 1 Triton. I think that's fine. So now we have a 3/3 that can attack their 2/2. It is tempting to Cavalier this 2/2, but I don't know if we would want to lose our Ooze in this spot. Rankle is pretty good though. Rankle is fantastic. So yeah, let's do that. Swing 6. They could still have a spell here to potentially get us. Especially with a hoarding priority, that tells me they probably have something for 1 mana. So I can easily disfigure our Ooze potentially, and then grow their Gorger, and then kill the Ooze easily. So let's just play it safe and attack with Rankle for now. Yeah, you can't block it, that's fine. I know you want to, but you can't. There you go, take 3. They have 3 cards in hand. I don't really want to sacrifice, especially with a Cavalier. I don't really want to discard either. Let's just draw. I mean, they have cards, 3 cards in hand, so I don't think them getting an additional card really matters too much. Although obviously they do want a lot of spells. But I think we kind of need to refill, especially after that mulligan. Okay, so Migratory Greathorn's okay. If anything, we'll probably just play it as a 4 mana 3/4 and then potentially sack it to the Cavalier. But certainly a case to be dropping it on the Ooze with has a counter. Oh, they got their own Liliana. Okay. So let's discard the Greathorn then. That's the least important card here, I think. And so Lily goes to 5. And I think we just Mythos that. I don't think we want them getting value off of their own Liliana. And they don't even attack. They didn't activate or anything. That's interesting. So we kill Liliana, they still have a 3/3. We kill them 3/3 and we swing 6 at Liliana and they're both gone. That's probably the best way to do it. I don't want to use the Mythos, but I think we just kind of have to here. And actually we have mana to play this out as well. So let's go and do that. Grow it. Grab what do we need? Let's grab green since we got the Ooze in play. And swing, or no, we've got 4 power thanks to the counter to kill Liliana and hit them for 3. Perfect.
I'll be more powerful next time.
Yeah, I think we still want the card draw, and we're all kind of peeing away their life total. I mean, there's only so much they can do with all these cards. I mean, they have more options, certainly, but they don't seem very efficient to chain off multiple spells here. So I think I'm okay with giving them some card draw. And we certainly need to draw into more. I don't think the Rankle and Ooze / Greathorn is going to carry us to victory. The Cavalier is nice, but we don't really have a good sacrifice target. I don't really want to lose either one of these. And now they just have a couple Goblin tokens, so we don't have anything good to... just play the land first. Get back... we'll have 2 creatures to get back, so... might just play it as a 5/5. We have the mana to mutate, though. And we can get back both of our creatures. I really think it's important that we hold up the Cavalier here. Okay, they're going to double block, and then they have some way to deal with 3 damage. We can grow it in response, so we'll see what they do. Minus 2 damage. Okay, let's activate and eat up the Spell Gorger. So we're going to gain some life, make it a 5/6. 4 plus the 2, yeah, that's not enough. I don't think they had enough to kill it anyway. Now do you want to keep giving them cards? 15. I think we'll actually choose nothing here, and since we're not really doing anything with the Nethroi here, I mean we could do on the Greathorn just to kind of thin the deck maybe, but I think just kind of going wide here is maybe better. I mean getting mutating the Nethroi just to get some other creatures back is pretty fantastic. So then it gives us an option to gives us the option to we have those creatures to sacrifice to our Cavalier, and now since we have a 3/3 Rankle and they have a 5/5 flyer, I think we just have to sack the Rankle. And we didn't use any of its abilities last time, so I think that's fine. We're hitting for 10. We could eat 2 things, go up to 7. So we're still not quite lethal, even if we activated the Ooze. So let's do that. Pass the turn. Again, we're in a pretty fantastic spot. They need quite a bit of interaction here. We're empty-handed, and they're with 3 cards in hand. Okay, they kill our Nethroi, which sucks, but we still have 9 power on board. They're at 5. Ooh, Goblin Gathering. Alrighty. Do we want to grow? It doesn't really do anything with getting chump blocked, so we'll say no. Attack, force them to block here. Technically they could just block the Greathorn and take 4, but it doesn't really seem very good for them. And they can't do anything to kill our creatures here. So we'll just keep swinging in. Gain some life. Play our land, pass the turn. And again, our opponent doesn't have any creatures in their graveyard, so we just we'll have to eat up our own. So now they have a bunch of stuff they could potentially block. That's 4 or 5, so they could kill our Cavalier here, which is fine. And yeah, we'll just pass the turn. And Mythos, so definitely want to hang on to that when they do play an actual big threat. So they can't kill our mutated creature here, but they can kill the Cavalier if they block all, but then they die to the 5 power. So they kind of have to just kind of chump block. So that's going to buy them some time, because they can just block for, what, the next couple turns? Okay, looks like they have some kind of a interaction spell here. They're going to block with 2 and then finish it off. 3, there we go. And they have Disfigure or something, or another Soren's Thirst maybe. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just want to get those tokens off the board, doesn't matter how. Okay, they let it resolve and don't kill our Cavalier. That's interesting. It's a bold strategy. I don't know, maybe they misplayed, or maybe they just otherwise they were in a pretty tough spot and backed it in. Alright, up against Aaron MD84. Maybe. That's a lot of lands. We have a couple key 2-drops, so that's fine. We don't need to land with the Shaman, but we do have the Castle Locthwain, so if we continue to flood out, we can potentially draw ourselves out of it. Okay, island, and island typically implies a slow deck, and this person is playing very slow. It's an Ozolith. Okay. So have some options here. Greathorn, sure. Yeah, we'll just play the 3-powered creature. So if they don't have anything to add to the board with, then we can just hit them for 3. Wow, 3 colors. Spellgorger weird, isn't that cute? Alright, we can mutate here and grab another land to thin the deck, which feels pretty reasonable the way we're kind of drawing lands. Doesn't matter. So we'll grab a second white source. We have the Fabled Passage, so it really doesn't matter too much there. I hit for 3 instead of 3. Alright. Flux channel. Okay, that's cute. Of course, removal is not to be found here. But they don't know that. So, let's attack, see what they do. Double block. Nope. Okay. So no decisions had to be made there. This will just crack the Fabled Passage, so we stop drawing so many lands, hopefully. And then we'll play the Shaman and the Triton. So we filled up our graveyard nicely, so once we start finding some of our payoffs, we're in a good spot. We have all the mana in the world to mutate and do things, but we just need to actually draw into some of that stuff. So we got a Necropanther in the yard. And I thought I saw a Nethroi, but maybe not. Nope, just a Necropanther. Alright, Glorious Anthem, that's pretty cute. So any removal in this deck is, feels like it's pretty much dead in the water. They can attack, but we've got the Triton. So the counters go on the Ozolith, but they don't go onto the Channeler or whatever creature they choose until the next turn. And we're drawing nothing but lands here, so we're not doing so good. We have a card draw with Castle Locthwain. That's not very appetizing though, because we're going to be taking 4 damage with 3 cards plus whatever we draw. Well, it's most likely they hit for at least 3. And now the super annoying Archon of Absolution. We have to pay mana just to attack. And they get an 8-powered flyer. Excuse me. But we definitely need to draw our way out of this. So, taking damage. Jesus. I mean, we're pretty much dead at this point. We can't attack in. They have 8-powered creature. We're taking at least 8 next turn. And potentially we could draw a removal spell with our next draw. So we'll play it out. But yeah, we're running tons of removal and we just did not find any of it. Pretty nice fun deck. Pridemate is not one of my favorite cards. This Archon is super obnoxious though, forcing you to pay just to attack. So we have to find a removal spell. Even if we do, we're still not really in a good spot. That's okay, but does it do enough here? We get some life gain, I guess. So, I guess. So it has a lifelink. We can get back the Tritons to gain some life. That's 2/4. So we have 6 power to play with here, and we'll just do the 3 and the 3. And is that our last basic? Wow. So do a bunch of milling. We do gain a bunch of life. We get a 3-powered. We do get a flyer to block their flyer with. We can't pay to attack though, which is super obnoxious. And we found literally like 0 removal. They just want to grow their Pridemate. We'll say no blocks. We'll take the 8. We're getting 5 here. They get to grow their Johnny's Pridemate. Are you kidding me? Still drawing nothing but lands. That is insane. So we have to leave Rankle back just to block the Archon and hope they don't have removal. The Death Touch is keeping the Pridemate at bay, and the 3/3 is not big enough to attack another 4/4. We could swing with Nethroi and see if they want to double block. Just trading off with the Pridemate, sure. So we get like, what is that, 1 counter? Yep. It's not too worried about that. And if they just attack, we could always just choose no blocks. Gonna go, yep, on the Archon. I mean, good thing about drawing all this land is we have plenty of mana to pay for the activated ability. Are they just dead now? Take 9, go to 4. We're gaining 5 back next turn for sure. Wow, that is pretty sweet. Really? All that stuff. Not only have we drawn lands, we've just milled pretty much nothing but lands. So we can get the Murderous Rider back. It does come back to our hand as a permanent, and then we can use the use it to kill something. I'll still on the Panther. We get a couple things. All right, so 3 or less from our graveyard to the battlefield. I will take you for the life gain. And permanent to your hand. Don't need lands, we'll take the Murderous Rider. We're at 4, which is a little dicey, but let's kill you. Sure, you have the Flux Channel to put those on. Swing you, and you. Yeah, swing all. So we're going to hit them with Rankle, and we're going to force them to sack their Channeler. Or they can just block the Death Touch. That's not what I was expecting. Now we just draw a card, lose a life. Cool. That was not looking good there, but we were able to pull it out. Wow. Alright, against the Jeskai-Ozolith. Alright, so we had lots of 3-drop creatures. So Ritual of Soot might be pretty fantastic. Vraska can hit the Ozolith. Obviously Elspeth hits some of their key stuff. But if we ignore the Glorious Anthem, we can just kill all their creatures, and it doesn't really matter. Obviously they're still trying to do like tricksy things. Although we saw the 1 shock, and not too much else beyond that. So obviously Rankle was clutch there, but overall I don't know how good it is. If they're running enough creatures, probably not going to be able to get too much value off the sacrifice, maybe. But I think I'd rather just be safe and run the Cavalier. Ritual of Soot feels pretty good. It's like Vraska because she can hit the Ozolith or a lot of their creatures. The Greathorn, we obviously got some value off it there, but overall I don't think it's particularly great. Probably need to be a little bit faster, especially on the draw. I don't think Necropanther is quite what we're looking for, and they dumped their hand pretty quick, so it doesn't do much. I don't think they were caring about their graveyard. Vivian maybe, Banishing Light maybe, but we have pretty good removal as it is, so I think just having the creature removal here with Murderous Rider is better than like a Banishing Light to have the flexibility to answer any of their permanents. So I just run it back like that. A pretty cool deck from our opponent with the Jeskai-Ozolith. I've kind of played around with the Flux Channel a little bit recently. It's very kind of a challenging card to actually make it work. So yeah, pretty cool what their opponent's doing. Obviously pretty annoying with Archon. Having to pay. Not a card that sees a whole lot of play, but it does seem like it does get played against you. It seems like it's pretty annoying, puts in a lot of work. Even with all those lands, we were still able to kind of battle through. So definitely a good sign from the deck. Okay, turn 1 Charmed Stray, so it looks like our opponent's a little more aggro this time. Alright, we got the Swamp here, so we can play Triton next turn and gain some life and block this Stray. And anything else opponent? Nope, no turn 2 play. We have the Symbiotes, but I'd rather save that, especially with the Ritual of Soot in hand. So we'll start to fill up our yard a little bit, gain some life back, and then we can block that. So a couple lands. I do like the Castle Locthwain, but so be it. We have 3 lands in hand, so we're not too worried about it. Including white to actually cast this Elspeth Conquers Death, which doesn't do anything against either of these, but we have the Ritual of Soot, which answers both of those perfectly. And we don't care about the Triton and the Glowspore Shaman dying, which is a pretty sweet draw, honestly. Alright, we could still try to get the Castle Locthwain back. Is it worth it? Maybe? It's a good card. That is a good card. Alright, so no attacks. I want to keep them kind of at bay and try to have them commit to the board as much as possible. Okay, Dungeon Geist is a 4-drop, so Ritual Slip does not do anything there. And we're still a couple turns from Elspeth conquering death here. I mean, we could just fire off this Ritual of Soot, and then we say lose their 2 of their creatures, and then we Elspeth the Dungeon Geists. And then we have the Castle Locthwain to help us trying to maybe draw into something else. Might be worth it. So let's go ahead and fire that off. So they keep their Dungeon Geist, which is fine. Okay, just a Glorious Anthem, no problem. So obviously if you're able to go wide, that works really well. But obviously what they're trying to do is just kind of playing some kind of a synergy creatures, lots of 1, 2, and 3 drops. It doesn't matter too much. We'll just fire this off and hit the creature. Anthem doesn't really do much if you have an empty board. So Glorious Anthem is pretty medium for what they're doing. But I mean, I get it. They have like those things that work well with the non-creature spells. So that's pretty good. So here we have Symbiote and then just hold up Mythos, I guess. We'll probably want to kill this Dungeon Geist. And then next turn, what do we get back? Lurker or Necropanther? We'll see what they have here. We're at 15, so I don't think we want to take damage. So let's go ahead and fire this off and kill that. If they have some kind of a counter or protection spell, that kind of sucks. But I think we have to always try to preserve our life total. Do you have a spell? Unsummon. Okay. Ooh, Nethroi is pretty fantastic. I guess we'll go with the Lurker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we are off from actually being able to mutate. Let's see, play you, and I think we can still draw a card. Let's do that. Let's do that. Obviously, with a Dungeon Geist, we're not really in a hurry to get this Nethroi down anyway. We'd rather do that after they've tapped something down. Alright, got them back down to 20. We'll let them play their Dungeon Geist, tap down our 5/5, and then we'll draw a card. 1, 2, yep, we have just enough to draw. Yep, tap down my 5/5, you got it. Draw, hopefully find a land. We have 2 draws to get a land. No land. Oh man, that's pretty good too. Liliana can kill their 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we're missing lands because we need 7 to mutate or 7 to play Liliana and mutate the Gemrazer. So we can only do one thing here. So I think we just want to, again, just keep their creatures off the board. So we can do this. Minus, I haven't counted our graveyard, but guaranteed it's enough. That's just what our deck is supposed to do. Hit for 4. Ooh. Our opponent packs it in. Our opponent packs it in. Nice. I guess they were... well, they didn't see red that time, so maybe that's was kind of causing them some issues. Especially kind of a budget mana base. But yeah, kind of interesting deck with what our opponent is doing. Gems. Gotta love this arena economy. Alright, so yeah, Abzan mutate reanimate with Liliana. Nice to see her put in some work there. Definitely like the addition of Rankle. And just enough mutate creatures that you can get tons of value. Elspeth and Vraska put in some nice work there. Loving the flexibility on the Mythos of Nethroi personally. And then the Mire Triton and Glowspore Shaman just are fantastic early game creatures to fill up your graveyard and get additional value with lands or life gain. And then having Death Touch Body is fantastic as well. Because we don't mind just kind of playing the slower game. But we can also kind of aggro when you get the 3 power on board on turn 3 and just kind of keep 2, excuse me, and then kind of keep adding to the board with 3 power creatures and things like that. And then yeah, Nethroi is nice to see us mutating that at least once. Sideboard obviously is always something that can be adapted to whatever decks you find yourself coming up against. But yeah, I kind of like this toolbox strategy since our main deck is pretty focused as it is. There's not really too many things you want to substitute out. It just kind of depends on what your matchup is and what you tend to be running into. But yeah, Abzan has pretty fantastic options right now, and so these are kind of the ones that I've chosen to play around with. And yeah, you can adapt it to whatever your needs are. So yeah, overall, fun deck. I was happy to revisit this from last season. A lot of the same, but some nice new additions here with, of course, Liliana, most importantly. And then even Scavenging Ooze out of the sideboard was pretty sweet as well. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, make sure you jank with a purpose.